Wealth Our Way Wednesdays, 12:30 p.m. 15 minutes of finance. What do you do when you're starting from the mud with less than zero? No plan, no role model, no hero. Take to the streets, bring heat like De Niro, or tune in to Wild, the network, the thorough. If it was me, I'd sit down with a pad and a pen. Hit my homie Shitty Thoughts with a friend. Tank is spitting real knowledge from beginning to end. 15 minutes, Wealth Our Way, let the lesson begin. Yeah, 15 minutes of finance with your man, Big Tank. Let's get it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of 15 Minutes of Finance. I got to give you a little Big Tank history. When I was younger, my mom used to play in Philadelphia the Daily Number, and she was always told to play 209, whether boxed it, straight. Whenever she played it, she said, whoever told her to play it told her, whenever you need some money, whenever times is tough, you got these three boys you're raising, play 209 and it'll come through for you. And more often than not, I recall her telling me that it used to come through for her. Why I'm bringing that up? Today is episode 209 of 15 Minutes of Finance. So it just made me a little nostalgic thinking back to my childhood. Today, we are going to talk about why nearly every purchase you make should be made on a credit card. But now that we have gotten through our beautiful Black History Month, we are back to the go or no go segment to start every show. So we are about to get into go or no go. I received an email from someone. Actually, I appreciate the email because it wasn't from someone in Wild Nation. It was from someone who stumbled across the program and just sent me a message. And I love whenever I get new people watching and listening. The question was, Big Tank, I have a very good friend going through some hard times, getting back on their feet, and they need a car to get around. And they had asked me if I would co-sign for the car. Do you think that is a good idea? So there's more to their email. I don't want to put it all on blast, but I will handle this question at a high level. The reality is that I am 100% against co-signing for someone. The reason being is that I'm not anti-helping people. Everybody who knows me knows I am a big help people person. But if you want to help somebody, give them what you have to give them. In other words, get the help over with. Don't put yourself in a position where your help is ongoing. If you want to help, and I have a deeper philosophy even, I don't like to just lend people money, although I find myself doing it quite a bit. What I would prefer to do goes with that adage of, if you give a man a fish, they eat today, but if you teach a man to fish, they can eat in the future. I would prefer to give someone money that will allow them to increase their financial situation in such a way that they don't need to ask me for money in the future. So if someone's tight on money and that's going to be a recurring issue, I would rather help them get a bartending license or a massage therapy certificate, something where they can now go out and add a side hustle or extra income so they can create some more liquidity and not need help. As far as co-signing is concerned, every time I have seen someone co-sign, literally every time, no exceptions, the person who did the co-signing has regretted it. Whether the relationship ended and they would no longer want to lend this person money, or the person defaulted and they became responsible for it. Even in situations where it went well, the person didn't default, relationship is still strong. There have been times where people have let me know, because I'm on someone else's loan, I now can't get a loan. When I co-signed, I didn't have a need for my credit availability to be any higher, so I figured I'd help my friend out. But now all of a sudden, I want to go buy a house, or I want to rent, or I want to buy a car, and I'm being turned down because I have this other obligation on my credit. So I'm going to say no go to the co-signing situation. Help your friend in another way. With that being said, let's talk about credit. I am a huge proponent of using credit cards. Now, let's be very careful and very clear. I'm talking about credit cards as opposed to debit cards. There is a differentiator, and let me just go into that real quick. A credit card is using other people's money. A debit card is accessing your own money inside of a bank account. When you use a credit card, besides for the fact that obviously you get to free up your own capital for a certain period of time, you are also afforded certain protections that the actual issuer of the credit card wants to make sure they're protected. So they extend these protections to you. When you get into a situation where you buy from a certain merchant and you're unhappy with the product or service and you want to dispute it, you have a lot more support and leverage when you're using a credit card rather than a debit card. The list is endless why I prefer credit cards over debit cards, but that's actually not the topic of today's show. Today's show's topic is why you should always use a card. And I'm going to touch on the reasons I feel as though you should use a credit card for every purchase. Anyone who's ever listened to 15 Minutes of Finance or the Financial Power Hour knows that I believe all financial decisions start with a budget. Excuse me. Budgeting is planning out your expenses moving forward. However, a large part of budgeting is looking at your expenditures at the end of the month and seeing how closely your spending habits for that month matched up with what you budgeted at the beginning of the month. Well, I'm here to tell you, you slap a bunch of cash in your wallet and you go around spending money, even if you're the type of person that takes the receipt when they're done, it is very difficult to stay on top of how much cash you have spent over a specific period of time. The longer the period of time, the harder it is to determine how much cash you have spent. With a credit card in this day and age, it's no further than an app on your phone for you to look up where you spent your money this week. So it helps you with your budgeting, which is the key to keeping your finances on track. The other reason is what I talked about earlier, leveraging other people's money. When you have fair to good credit, God forbid you got great credit, you can get a credit card that will allow you to use someone else's money all month. We are now in a high interest rate environment. This has not been the case for the last 25 years. I got into financial services at the end of 1997, and interest rates started to drop precipitously from the moment I got into financial services to the point where you're putting money in a savings account and earning almost zero interest. Well, those days are not today's days. Right now, I'm getting advertisements and solicitations from banks offering me over 5% to keep my money in a bank account, whether it's a money market or a savings. 5%, that's good money. So I'm going to use bigger numbers, but let's just bear with me for a minute. Let's say you have $100,000 sitting in cash. Let's be more realistic and lower it and say it's $10,000 sitting in cash. And your choices are to spend it in a month or to use a credit card and settle up your credit card at the end of the month. 5% of $10,000 is $500. But we have to be accurate with our math. That's $500 over a whole year. If we're talking about 1 month, we have to divide that $500 by 12 months of the year. 12 goes into $500, a little over $40. I won't give you the actual meticulous math calculation, but 40 times 12 is 480. So let's go say it goes in there. It actually is 41 and some change, but let's say it goes in there 40 times. $40. We can't sneeze at $40. Now, not my truck because I drive an F-150, but $40 may be a tank of gas or half a tank of gas these days. Why would I give up $40 if I didn't have to? I would rather use my credit card, spend that money all month on a credit card, then go into my account and pay the credit card down to zero and have made interest for that month of $40. And once again, the more money in the account, the higher the interest accumulates. So it makes sense for tracking purposes. It makes sense for cash purposes as far as maximizing best use of a dollar, which you know is a big tank trait. And then one of the more lucrative reasons, because the credit card market is very competitive and companies are trying to get your business. So they are offering you different incentives to come use their credit card. The number one incentive that they offer are rewards points. I love reward points. I use reward points to pay down my balances. I use reward points to go on trips. I used to have when I had my American Express Black card, my Amex Centurion card, before I got divorced, filed bankruptcy, and had to say goodbye to my card, the rewards were ridiculous. I used to accumulate over the course of a year upward of 1 million points a year. You got $1 for every point you spent. I had a lot of professional athlete clients that I made purchases on my card and let them pay me back. I used to average about $80,000 a month on my card. At the end of the year, I had 1 million American Express points. This was back before the companies got a little cheap with their rewards. They used to give me 1% of my cash, of my rewards in cash. 1% of $1 million is $10,000. Every Christmas, I would draw down $10,000 worth of gift cards, and it'd be Christmas for the Harris kids. I know you guys have heard that story before. That's how powerful rewards are. So what I'm going to tell you about using a credit card every time you use a purchase leads us right into 3 tips. I love the graphic for 3 tips. It makes me pause and stare at my handsome face. So tip number 1 for why you should use a credit card is make sure you get a credit card that has rewards, not just rewards in general, but rewards that are more geared toward how you spend your money. When I look back at my bank statements and credit cards every month, because I have not gotten this whole eating thing under control, I spend a lot of money in restaurants. Food is the number one thing it seems like I spend money on my credit card, food and travel. So I want a credit card that gives me 5 times on dining out, 10 times on dining out, 3 times on dining out. I don't want a 1-for-1. I may take a 1-for-1 in Home Depot or when you're doing some other category. But if it's food, travel, or gas, I want a multiplier. Tip 2, you want to make sure you do not spend more money on your credit card than you can afford. There is a difference between a credit card and a charge card. I referenced American Express earlier because they're a charge card. Now they do have credit card products, but when American Express came out, they want all their money at the end of the month. I have always attempted to use my credit card as a charge card. I want that 30-day float using other people's money. And at the end of the month, I will pay the bill with money that I've had in my account. I never spend more. Well, I try. I'm a human. I try to never spend more than I have the ability to pay in full at the end of the month, which leads me to point 3. Make sure you know your credit card's billing cycle and due dates. This is a mistake that even I've made, and I'm a financial pundit. We say to ourselves, hey, if I charge something, I have 30 days to pay it off. I have the month to pay it off before it reports to my credit bureau that I've used that available spend on my credit, before interest hits, before a payment is due. That is not always true. You have to know your billing cycle because there's nothing worse than it being the 13th of the month and your billing cycle ends on the 15th of the month and you spend $2,000 worth of something on the 13th. It reports to the credit bureau that you've used the $2,000 of your available credit, and it makes your payment due in 16 days, the first of the next month, where you're thinking you have 30 days. So make sure you know your billing cycles and when your payments are due to make sure you get use of the full 30 days. Because in a perfect world, we also don't want to use our credit to the point where it's reported to the credit bureau that we've accessed our available credit. If you stay inside of that billing cycle window, your credit bureau will never know you actually used the money. You can charge it, you can pay it back, it'll never report. With that being said, I wish you guys all a happy month of March. I'm looking forward to giving you great content every Wednesday. And at the end of the month, we're going to have a great financial power hour to talk about taxes and our people. See y'all next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wild Network. For more great content like this, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page at Wealth Our Way Network. Also, don't forget to follow us on IG and Facebook. Remember, wealth is not only for the wealthy.